Yes, see member van der Westhuizen joined us.
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, colleagues, members and officials and guests on the platform. Today is the 29th of November 2023, and this is the Standing Committee on Mobility. We are gathered here today to deliberate on Vote 8, which is mobility, in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustment and Preparation Bill B7 of 2023. Thereafter, the committee will consider and possibly adopt a committee report on the vote that's contained in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustment and Preparation Bill. And lastly, if there are any resolutions, those will be raised by the members. So, for us to establish whether we have a quorum for the record, might call on the members to introduce themselves.
Good morning, Andrikus van der Westhuizen, member of the committee.
Morning, Chairperson. Lulama Mvimbi, member of the committee.
Morning, Chair. Mbulela Isaac Sileko.
Are there any other members present that would like to introduce themselves? If not, we are full, so we do have a quorum. Johan, did you receive any apologies, perhaps?
Chairperson, no apologies were received.
Okay, thank you so much. As we have stated earlier, that this meeting is taking place via the MS team on the virtual platform, and the members are conversant with the rules that of engagement that deals with virtual meetings. I shall not repeat them all. Safe to say that unfortunately we do not have interpreting services available, and it'd be appreciated if English could be used as a medium of communication. With that said, let's move on to the Department of Mobility, introduction of the officials. May I extend a warm welcome to all the officials and to the Minister, and I'm handing over to the Minister now to lead the introduction of the department's officials. Over to you, Minister.
Good afternoon, Chairperson. Minister Mackenzie has internet challenges. He is connecting now. Just give him 2 minutes or so. Thank you.
Okay. Could we then proceed? Is the HOD on the platform? Hello, Ms. Moore. Welcome. And
good day, sir.
Take it from there.
Thank you so much. Firstly, I just want to, I see the minister's just joining us now.
Just ask him just to waiting in the room. I'm still there.
Minister, your sound is already on. So I will just introduce the team.
Sorry,
Minister, is that fine if I introduce the team, Minister?
Yes, perfect. Sorry, guys, I'm logged in now, yeah.
Thank you. So first I've got the CFO is sitting here with me in the office. I also have the Acting Chief Director, Bernie Mahmahon, Deirdre Ribbenaar, Chief Director for Transport Operations, and some of her team members have also joined us here today. We are also happy to see Melvin Arendse from her team, as well as Hamza That is also from her team. I wonder if CFO, if you want to introduce your team who will be carrying the load here, Chair.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, Minister. Good morning, honourable members. Part of my team is my acting Director for Financial Management, Ranil, and she has a whole team for management accounting there that is assisting us. So we are ready for all the questions that you might have for us to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore, and thank you, Mr. De Wet. Any other guests on the platform or any other officials that have not been introduced yet? I also indicate that we have our procedural officer on call, that is Mr. Johannes Kutsia, and then we also have our secretarial services, Ms. Nomfundo Mupesu, and then we also have our technical team, Ms. Candice Morris, and Mr. Hassan, Sirat Hassan, that provide the necessary technical assistance if members required. With that said, welcome, Minister. Happy that you could join us this morning. And it's over to you for a few introductory remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just had a bit of a challenge logging in, but thank you for having us this morning on Vote 8, the Mobility Department's adjusted estimates of provincial expenditure. First of all, I want to thank the Standing Committee for giving us the opportunity to present our adjusted expenditure for the year. As we all know, we are doing this against the backdrop of extreme financial difficulties. Every department in this province and every municipality and everyone in this country is battling under severe financial stress. We've seen, as we sit today, stage 4 load shedding. We've seen the statements, the fiscal statements by national government. My colleague, our Provincial Minister of Finance, has also delivered her budget statement and the fiscal risk. So every department in the Western Cape had to make some severe sacrifices to ensure services are protected. And they've done so against the backdrop of a new department, as we all know in the Standing Committee, a new HOD, the transfer of staff from different departments to our new mobility departments. But despite all of this, they have tried their best and being extremely professional in what they do, they're going to make the best in a difficult circumstances. So there's nothing new from a financial or fiscal perspective that I can tell the Standing Committee, because we all are aware that the condition we found ourselves in. Myself, I was part of an event also yesterday where we've asking, given the fiscal cuts that have taken place, that national government need to give us the money to ensure frontline services are protected. Everyone is affected. Everyone is affected. And I think we need to be mindful of that when we see cuts to programs of not only in these departments across the Western Cape government, but the officials and the staff in the mobility department, many of them has been new head of department, a new CFO, have worked extremely hard to protect our most important services to ensure people get to and from home safely. So I think I'm going to leave that opening remarks, Chairperson, and obviously we'll respond to all the questions that the Standing Committee has. But we all have to be mindful in the fiscal environment that we are as a country, that none of us in this room has been responsible for allowing it to happen, that we have to operate in these conditions. I think we all have to be extremely mindful of that. But thank you very much. We are here to answer your questions.
Thank you, Minister. I think that the members will engage with yourself and the department with regard to the vote 8 that is going to be presented today. I don't know who's going to do the presentation, Minister, whether it is going to, Ms. Moore is going to lead the presentation, if you have one, and or is Mr. De Wet is going to brief the committee on the vote. So I leave it up to you to decide as to how we will make the presentation. Okay, Ms. Moore?
So the CFO, thank you so much. The CFO will flight the presentation on the summary of the adjustment budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. We forwarded the infographics to Johan, and he distributed it to all the members. So if we can just go through it, I don't have it in front of me to flight it, or otherwise Johan can flight it. Daitzi says she can flight it as well. This is just a high level. I will take you through the budget and the changes that is there on a high level. The detail is in the budget book.
Thank you. Yeah, Johan. So sorry,
We
Mr. De
received
Wet.
additional funding of net additional funding of 23.767 million rand.
Mr. De Wet.
And that brings us to a total allocation of
Francois,
2.977 million rand.
Francois,
Now,
can you-
that funds
Mr. De
became
Wet.
available, and it was mostly through revenue retention, an amount of 88 million rand.
Mr. De Wet, could you just hold your horses for a moment,
appropriated
please?
and given approved for us for rollover.
Francois, can you hear us?
Mr. De Wet, you can't hear us. Can you just hold your horses? Johan, can you flight?
Of that, and that was mostly relating to increased excess motor vehicle license fees that we collected in the previous financial year.
Marissa, is there anyone in Francois' office? I don't think you can hear the
There
chairperson.
was a shortfall on the motor license agency fees of 70 million rand. That was allocated from that. That is directly linked to the motor vehicle license fees that we generate, and there's a certain percentage that we pay to the municipalities to collect that money for us. And then for the Provincial Sustainable Transport Program, we allocated 15 million rand for additional costs and work that we have to do. Then project management of the public transport operations grant, PTOC, that's 2.109 million rand. That was an increase. The total allocation is 1.2 billion rand, and that needs to be managed on a very detailed way. And then on the road safety implementation program, we allocated a further $1 million. Then there was also money that was taken away from us, and that was in agreement with the Department of Transport of Infrastructure, 63.955 million rand. That includes the money for about 35 million rand for the staff that was in the management arrangement. That was now transferred to our department. That was 35 million rand. And then there was, with the split, and when they created the two departments, they gave a 50-50 allocation to the two departments in terms of program one administration. But included in that was money that was specifically for the Department of Infrastructure, about 20 million rand, and that brings you up to about 64 million rand that we transferred to that specific department. Then, with the establishment of the Mobility Department, we had to have our own audit committee. And for the interim, there was two audit committees running, one for human settlements and one for mobility. And therefore, we had to transfer to Dotby, who is the custodian of the audit committees, another 187,000 rand. So on the economic classifications on the compensation of employees, we said that we are reducing that allocation by 35 million rand, and that is mostly the 34 million rand that goes to the Department of Infrastructure, and then 1.8 million rand that was not that we will not spend due to the current circular around the filling of post. Then on goods and services, we increased that by 78 million rand, and that was mostly for the shortfall on the motor vehicle license fees that we indicated. And then transfers and subsidies, we increased by 63 million rand. We've got a contract on the Goat George, whereby we are responsible for the shortfall in the operational cost. And due to various reasons, there was a 63 million rand shortfall on that specific project. Then payments for capital assets, there was an over provision for that, and we accepted 82 million rand from there. That was for the GG fleet. We only introduced some new cars later in the year and not in the beginning of the year. So 82 million rand became available that we could shift for other pressures. And then we made provision of 209,000 rand for the write-off of old losses, and that is mostly GT vehicles that were in accidents, whereby the officials driving that is not liable for the damages, and we pay 10% of the loss that GMT incurs. We pay 10%. Yeah, so that is in short the detail or the high level of all the shifts that we made, and the shifts are mostly due to just aligning the Department of Mobility in terms of Program 1, fixing that, and then also other additional funding that became available. Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, members.
Thank you, Mr. De Wet. I hope you can hear me now.
Sorry, Chair, we can hear you. We did get somebody running into my office saying that you were trying to talk to us and we couldn't hear you. Could you hear the presentation?
Yes, we were able to hear the presentation, so it's all good.
It's all good, thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Moore, Mr. De Wet, for the presentation. I'm going to open up to the members now if they wish to engage and ask questions for clarity or make a comment, etc. And then we will take it from there. Members, over to you. I acknowledge Honourable Seleku, Honourable Mvimbi, and Honourable Van der Westhuizen in that order. Honourable Seleku, I recognize you.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Allow me to greet the HOD and the Minister and the rest of the personnel online. Chair, mine is just a simple one. It's on page 171. And I've just looked at in terms of the percentage of expenditure on the different programs. I see most of them are under 50%. And one would want to know whether are we going to find ourselves at risk of not being able to spend all our allocations? If that's the case, how is the department going to mitigate that particular risk, Chair? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Seleku. Honourable Mvimbi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I just a couple of questions, Chairperson. I know in terms of the increase as a result of this new establishment of the department, if I look there at the beginning, it says there's an increase of the budget has been increased by 23 million. There's an increase of 23 million. If maybe we can just, it's 23.967. If we can just the department can just expatiate on the content of this increase. What does this 23 million consist of? It might be good if we can just have further explanation on that. Then obviously my second question will be around the issue. I think on the presentation there is something that talk about, just want to go to the slide that was just put on. It's got to do with let me just check, sustainability. Is it provincial sustainable transport system transport program, which is 15 million. Just some more clarification and expansion on that. Maybe what does this sustainable transport program mean? What is it really, so that we can understand it? Then there's the issue. I just want to check somewhere in the budget. I see there is money being shifted around, even the 63 million for the Go George, and it says that due to service delivery pressure. Was the 63 million rand that was shifted towards this program, was it because of the pressure that the department got from the communities? That's what they mean by service delivery pressure. But coupled to that, Chairperson, would lead to my next question, because this is a rapid bus transport system, as it's called, you know, like it's being implemented in quite a number of metros throughout the country. I was trying very hard to look as to the amount that is being put aside for the subsidization of the taxi industry. Is there no money at all put aside to look into such a program of beginning to subsidize the taxi industry? Of course, I can preempt the minister's response on this is going to be that, look, it's the national government. If national government gives them the money. But I know the issue of Blue Dot was not an initiative of the national government. It was an initiative of this provincial government, which by all means was a good initiative. Is there no money set aside to continue with a program of that nature? The last question, Chair, will be around the issues of road safety. I see there's 1 million that has been put aside in terms of the slide that was put on. Does that include Arrive Alive and the so-called Safely Home program? How much is allocated? Because I was trying, obviously, I could not see that. Is there any way that there is an amount that has been, or how much amount has been put aside for Arrive Alive and the Safely Home program? Or is it within that 1 million rand which seeks to deal with the road safety implementation program? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Wimby. Honourable van der Westhuizen, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, my first question regarding an amount that appears on more than one page, but I'll refer to 168. May I just say, this adjustment budget has been marked by some quite significant movements in amounts. Now, I've heard what the CFO has said in terms of the initial budget being, seems to me, a very blunt division or allocation of budget between infrastructure and this department, and that they now have to make these big adjustments, particularly when it comes to the cost of employment for certain staff. Although I would have thought that in a well-functioning budget environment, these posts would have been allocated before the main budget served before Parliament. But now on sub-program 3.3 law enforcement, there is almost 78 million reduction in expenditure, saying realignment of budget mainly in respect of finance leases for transport equipment. Perhaps if we could just get an explanation why that amount is now being cut so severely, because I think we were in the past quite proud of our investment in well, transport equipment. I take it as mostly vehicles. And now, unfortunately, that has to be, singled out for a severe reduction. Then just a few lines above that, under goods and services for transport administration and licensing, there is a saving of 1.5 million due to e-notice forms being automated and less maintenance required. I am concerned about the fact that more and more vehicle licenses are being issued centrally through the e-notice system, and that the province might be forfeiting income in that regard. And perhaps if we could just, on the one hand, hear why is it that, again, this was over budgeted? And secondly, where do we find in this budget any expenses to prepare the Western Cape for the rollout of R2? Because I was thinking that perhaps some of this might also fall under transport administration and licensing, unless you tell me that is completely linked to law enforcement and that it requires different equipment. Then, Chair, on the next page, if you turn the page over, page 170, we've heard that, under administration that there was this crude allocation initially, but even if we take half of that 72 million budget away, which would leave us with 36 million, and surely, there's still an administration remaining within this department. How come that we've only spent 22% for the year to date, or in the first 6 months? I surely would have thought that that figure would have been significantly higher than that. Again, if one thinks that was hopefully a well thought out budgeting or budget process. And then, Chair, again, sorry, I have to take you back. In terms of the Go George, to link on to the Honourable Mvimbi, I was under the impression that to a large extent that program is funded from national, and that this department is just a conduit for those funds to the Go George program. And yet it now seems as if we had to increase significantly the province's contribution by more than 56 million rand. Again, if we could get an explanation of why that program, and don't forget about the 10 million just above it, why we now have to fork out so much more for that program, more than what was anticipated when the main budget was drafted. Thank you, Chair.
Well, okay, thank you, Honourable van der Westhuizen. I just want to add to the some of the questions raised by our members, particularly with regard to this Go George one. I know in the main budget we had an allocation of 74 million rand. And I want to know whether the current allocation is that additional money that is going to be appropriated to the George Go bus services, because I remember in the main budget it was specifically geared towards the rollout of phase 4A, and it seems to me now that there's a significant shortfall in terms of what we budgeted for, and I don't know whether it's additional money. And then secondly, Chairperson, myself, the money transferred to the Department of the Premier, which is 187 million rand, and that's for the restructuring of the audit committees. Now, in terms of what was shared with us by Mr. De Wet, in terms of the 2 audit committees, etc., and we need to have our own audit committee, for me it seems to be a bit excessive. Maybe we could just get some more clarity in terms of what constitute that 187 million rand. And then thirdly, in terms of the public sector wage agreement, that we as a department has to 100% fund was any significant pressures on the budget since the main budget and subsequent increases of 7.5% granted to public sector employees, and does the compensation of employees figure represent the sort of increases that were provided, and perhaps what pressures it will have for the department for the next financial year, given that higher than expected pay progression will have to be considered. Thank you, Chair. Minister, over to you, and you can direct it from there.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Can I just first of all say thank you for the questions? And yeah, I just want to start by saying with regards to Go George, I mean, Go George Phase 4, Thembaletu's running better than expected. And I want to thank our colleagues who are here, Deirdre, Ricardo Collins. They've been working extremely hard over many, many years, way before our time in getting this to the stage. So thank you very much for them for getting the Go George to Thembaletu successfully rolled out. And Honorable Vimbi asked two questions. One, you already know the answer to, so I'm not going to respond to that. But the important question he asked about the pressures. Of course, my officials will respond technically to those to the money questions, but I just wanted to say tongue-in-cheek is due to the pressure from him, actually, that and his assistance in getting the service rolled out, that things are actually moving. There's just tongue-in-cheek on that, but the officials will speak to the more technical part. And I just also want to say to the members of the Standing Committee that part of the reason why some of these things are actually working, and I don't think I've made that point properly before, as you know, it's a new department, and I slightly touched on it. And I just want to say, because I see all our officials say here, Mr. Ahmed, Ricardo Collins, Randall, so many of these hardworking officials are here, Melvin, Marassa obviously is the HOD, Deirdre. These guys have worked extremely hard, guys and girls have worked extremely hard through challenging times. We've seen the taxi strike, we've seen so many things happening in the mobility space, rail not working, that they picked up the can and continue running. And I really want to say thank you to all of them. Honorable Vimbi, the answer is, as you know, it will be. We can subsidize the minibus taxi industry wholeheartedly and certainly will. But in order to do so, we need to get the money. But the officials will give you the response as to how much money we are giving the minibus taxi industry, because we are giving them funding. But the answer is we will subsidize the minibus taxi industry with R1 billion if we get it from R1 billion from national government. That is the answer. And the answer won't change because the facts is not changing. Thank you, Chairperson. And I hand over to the HOD and the team.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you. I just want to highlight some of the key questions, and I'll then ask the CFO to go into some of the detail asked for. In terms of the PSTP, the program has got various legs. The first is that it does work with the taxi transformation and improvement side. It looks at our mobility improvements in terms of rail and in terms of freight. It's got support for the transport hub, and it has also got some departmental strategic support. So it is quite a wide-ranging program, and it has got interesting aspects in terms of supporting non-motorized transport, bicycles, etc. So it is quite a broad program and required support in the adjustment budget, which we were able to provide. Just in terms of the George Integrated Public Transport Network, the cost that is an additional allocation and the cost pressures arise from what we refer to as direct operating costs. So it relates to fuel, vehicles, maintenance, and driver costs. In terms of what happened this year is there was some pressures from the previous financial year. There were obviously fuel pressures with the rising in the diesel costs, and there was some cost in terms of interest on vehicles and maintenance. So those are the underlying pressures that we respond to, and it has been an ongoing adjustment budget response that we are hoping to be able to fund upfront for better clarity. Honourable Mvimbi, in terms of the minibus taxi support for transformation and formalisation, the Minister is being modest. We spent significant amounts of money. The planned expenditure for this year is just under 19.5 million, and that excludes the cost of the staff that we employ and support in their work for transformation and formalisation of the industry. On the cutting side, the department did review the allocations for the fleet in terms of our traffic management, and there was some, I don't want to call it looseness, but we were able to reprioritize some of these funds to support this, because you see we only received 23 million, but we had pressures of nearly 90 million rand. So for us to do that, we also reviewed our own expenditure. The outcome of the reduction in the fleet would not have the fleet expenditure would not have a reduction on the fleet. It would only mean that we will be able to maintain the existing fleet and not be able to grow the fleet that I think we initially wanted to do. So it's more a maintaining of our ambitions than a reduction in what we want to do. I am going to ask the CFO to speak about the concerns about possible underspending and the misalignment between the Department of Infrastructure and Mobility that has now been addressed in the adjustment budget. I will give over to him. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Today. Thank you, Chairperson and members, Minister. Yeah, it shows very low, but it is actually, there's no risk of any underspending. We are very tight at this moment in time. As indicated under the administration program, 35 million rand that's not accounted on the first 6 months has been transferred to transport to the mobility department in respect of the staff that was in the management arrangement until the end of September. There was also the question, how couldn't we have the budget already in the main budget anticipated what we will need? No, it was not possible. The transfer, the staff that has been allocated to the department has to be placed according to certain rules, and we did not know who the people were going to be that will move to the Department of Mobility. So that process was concluded, and therefore we shifted that money over to DOI. So there will be 100% spending there. On transport operations, right, okay, it's linked to the biggest cost driver there is the PTOC grant. That is, there's only five payments done in the first 6 months. So that is the big one. And then, of course, the payment for the George bus service, that is only being done now. We actually signed off that payment last night, so that will be done now, and that is 228 million rand. So there's also no risk of any underspending. On the transport regulation, that 46% there, as indicated, there was an over budget on the fleet. We went through lots of calculations with GMT, and just to get the real cost there. So we could shift that money there. So there's no risk for any underspending at this moment in time. We are very tight, and we implement the cost containment measures as prescribed to the departments nationally and provincially. Just on the 23 million rand, what does it exist of? It exists of 88,109 million rand that was there for a revenue retention, and then we shifted then 63,955 million to infrastructure for the alignment of the budgets to fix that. And then on the audit committee, the 187,000 rand. There was some questions why so much money. There was an additional audit committee that was run, and that was the ex-human settlements one that had to conclude on the closing of the human settlements one, so that there was a couple of meetings still after that, including going to the standing committee and to SCOPA on the annual report of the Department of Human Settlements. So there was additional cost then incurred. I think that is, there was one on the road safety implementation program, that 1 million rand additional to the already appropriated 34 million rand that we've allocated for the Safely Home and Reliable Life campaigns. So we're actually increasing that allocation. Yeah, and I think that is all the questions that was asked currently. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De Wet, and thank you, Ms. Moore. Could I ask whether there are any follow-up questions from members? Okay. Honourable van der Westhuizen, I recognize you. Honourable Mbimbi, I see your blue bubble alerts me, and I recognize it too. Honourable van der Westhuizen, you go first.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just a question for myself of clarification. What is included under the expenditure item called households? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honourable Mbimbi.
Just not necessarily follow-up, Chairperson, might be a bit of a new question, but very relevant.
Okay.
On the issue of Go George, there seem to be quite progress being made on that one, in spite of its up and down. And then it look like very soon we might be going to this phase 4, long-awaited phase 4. And of course, as the minister has indicated, that it's a very difficult project because of, I wouldn't say resistance, but serious concern that are being raised by the stakeholders there. I don't know whether it might be, I know it's towards the end of the year now. It might be good if we might close the year having actually visited that area if we can, and just to get an update of progress that is being made there, you know. But of course, the other question, Chair, is around the issue of some of the funds that are being shifted around. I was trying to look because on the budget book, we know there's been a big story on the BMW, and that are still stationary and still standing in the government garage. Is there been some money taken from that? Is there any planned in the budget to try and make sure that those BMW now are actually going to start to be operational? Thanks, Chair.
Honourable Sileku, thank you, Honourable Mbimbi.
Chair, thank you very much. It's not a follow-up, but I just want the department to give me more, just to elaborate more in terms of this job seeker voucher pilot project that one sees on 168. I see there's 2 amounts there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Sileku. I think one of the questions that were not addressed, Mr. De Wet, is a question around COEs in terms of the unfunded increases by the national department. Now, the main budget was adopted earlier this year with the proviso that there would possibly be a 3% increase, and we know that subsequent to happen is that 7.5% increase were agreed to centrally by the national government. Now, at that stage, our percentage of COE in relation to the budget was 17.3%. Has things changed in terms of the COE percentage in relation to the adjustment budget? And because I don't see any sort of shifting of funds towards that, and funded vacant positions being sort of abolished to accommodate this. Maybe if you could just speak to that, it will provide members with greater clarity. Thank you. And I recognize the Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. I just want to respond to the two questions, and my colleagues are welcome to add to the rest. One is on the BMWs. Let me start with the BMWs, our high performance vehicles. They're actually not gathering dust anymore, my honorable members. They have been handed over. I think we're just waiting for, 12. I don't want to mislead Parliament. The exact number, my colleague, Mr. Ahmed, is in this meeting, can confirm is arriving in January. But the rest, I've personally handed over with a team across the various districts and their operational assisting in keeping our roads safer. On the second question about the Go George, I actually think Honourable Wimby is a great idea. I think it's very important that the Standing Committee do a visit and see Tembale to Go George bus in action. It's a great service, providing a great service to the community that has been waiting for years. And I know many standing committees have been there when there were challenges, but I do think now that it's operationally, it's worth a visit. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Ms. Moore or Mr. De Wet?
Thank you, Chairperson. Maybe to start with your question on the COE, the in-year pressure of the COE for the Mobility Department was largely addressed because we didn't appoint additional traffic officers. So the that relieved our in-year pressure. We face significant pressures over the 3-year budget period that we are busy finding ways so that we can still appoint people into vacant positions and still keep ensuring that we deliver on our mandate. The question in terms of from Honourable Seleku on the job seeker voucher, Cabinet approved this project to, in principle, to continue in the third quarter of this financial year. So we made provision for that program, which looks at off-peak or what they call between-peak services, where people who are looking for work can access public transport for free, and the department then buys the little gold card that runs on our bus services, so that people can go to interviews for free. So we've got a program that we are finalizing so that we can hopefully start that. I was hoping that we can start it on Friday, but we committed to start it now in December, January, so that we catch the new entrants into the job market. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De Wet. What do you?
Just on the COE, we went through a whole very detailed process and in rebudgeting our COE. We made our case to the Provincial Treasury. We had 2 or 3 meetings with them. We put the figures on the table, all the spreadsheets, all the people, and per name, per cost per person. And by doing so, they agreed that we were a little bit underfunded there. And with the reduction that was enforced on all the provincial departments, they reduced the amount of money that we had to give back so that we can fund our staff adequately throughout the year. Otherwise, we would have had to stop paying them by January. So yeah, so we are in the process of this new department. We are rebudgeting everything, we're recosting and getting our priorities right, so that we can at least deliver on our mandate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De Wet. I don't know, Honourable van der Westhuizen, are you okay to just open up for another round of follow-ups or new questions?
I'm happy, thank you.
Okay, happy. Honourable Seleku, you're happy? Honourable Seleku, you happy? Honourable Mvimbi, you happy?
I'm happy, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you.
I'm fine.
Thank you. Honourable Seleku? Okay, no more new questions? Fine. Minister, it seems, thank you, we have come to the end of the engagement with yourself and the department. We are very mindful of the pressures that not only our department has in terms of mobility, but also all the other departments, and in terms of the way you have dealt with the budgetary pressures that you were confronted with, and the way you have shifted funds around to deliver on the mandate. I think it, from my side, it is indeed impressive in a sense that at least no employees suffered any prejudice. I know there will be sort of pressures on our employees considerably because we did not fill additional vacant positions, but we are extremely grateful that given the environment that we operate in, that we managed to deliver on the mandate. But over to you, Minister, for concluding remarks you'd like to make.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you for the Standing Committee. I just want to make 1 or 2 more comments. One, regarding the BMWs. You know, we're going into a very busy festive season. In fact, our colleagues at Tourism saying it is one of the busiest seasons our city and possibly our province is ever going to have. It's going to be extremely busy. And I really want to thank the team, Mr. Ahmed and his team from Government Motor Vehicles, who've worked extremely hard in getting those vehicles out on the road and getting, given what happened internationally with the challenges around the procurement, they've gone from what is expected far beyond what is reasonable to getting those vehicles on the road, to making our roads safer. And secondly, to our provincial traffic officers, who are the recipients of those vehicles and who's on the roads making our roads safer for all of us. And lastly, I just want to say to the Standing Committee and to all of us in this room or outside of this room, let us use our roads safely. We know it's festive season. The Springbokke won the World Cup. We're all in a happy, festive mood, but let's do so safely. Let's enjoy ourselves at our homes or in a place where we don't need to drink and drive. So please enjoy the holidays, be safe with your families, but do so safely and listen to the instructions of our traffic officers, because they're out there in their new high-performance vehicles. with the in-vehicle technology to make the roads safer for you. That's the only reason they're out on the roads. They want to make sure that you arrive home safely. So thank you very much, Chairperson and members of the Standing Committee. Please be safe out on the roads and spend quality time with your families. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you for the invitation to the program you will be having on Friday. But unfortunately, due to pressures on our side, Public Accounts Committee and other pressing engagements, some of us will be able to make it. But those that can, certainly.
And the regional said no, some.
Okay, thank you. But those who are able to attend, they're most welcome to. But again, all the best for yourself and your department and the hundreds of traffic officers out there. May you all have a safe festive season. Thank you so much. You're welcome to exit the meeting so that we can stay behind. Ms. Moore, if you want to make a concluding remark or two.
Yes, thank you so much for the committee support. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. All the best, and you may exit the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. De Wet. Right, colleagues, now we have come to the part of our meeting that we need to consider, you know, the vote and whether we support the vote or we don't support the vote, and then we have time. We can also consider the committee report on vote 8. I recognize Honourable van der Westhuizen.
Thank you, Chair. I propose that we support vote number 8 as presented to us this morning.
Yes, it's a motion that we support the vote. Is there a second for that? Is there a second for the motion that we support the vote? Honourable van der Westhuizen?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think the procedural officer will confirm that technically we do not require someone to second due to the limited size of our standing committees in the Western Cape. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Chairperson, that is correct, and in terms of our standing rules, we don't require any seconders in our committees.
Okay. Thank you, Johan.
Chairperson, is can you? I would like to register a minority vote and not to support the budget.
That's the standing rule 90.
In terms of rule 90. Thank you, Chairperson.
Yeah. Thank you, Honourable Mbambi. Mr. Kutsi, is it possible for you to drop the report quickly to present us with the report, and then we can formally read it into the record and then adopt the report? It's a little.
Is it visible, Chairperson?
It's visible, but it's very sort of small. Can you just? Yeah, thank you so much. It's better. This is the committee report. The report of the Standing Committee on Mobility on vote 8, mobility in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2023 B7 2023, dated the 29th of November 2023 as follows. The Standing Committee on Mobility, having deliberated on the subject of the vote 8, mobility in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2023 B7/2023 referred to this committee in accordance with Standing Rule 188, reports that it supports the vote. In accordance with Standing Rule 90, the African National Congress expressed its minority view that it does not support the vote. Can I have a mover that we adopt the report? Honourable van der Westhuizen, I recognize you.
I so move.
Is there a seconder for the adoption?
I second that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Sleku. Okay, the report is duly adopted. And that brings us now to the resolutions. The last point on the agenda. I think Honourable Sleku. Is that the old ad?
Legacy and Chair, my apologies.
Legacy. Thank you. You're welcome. I think that Honourable Bimbi, during the deliberations, made a proposal that we, as a committee, go visit the Go George Integrated Transport Project. We've done so almost a year ago. I think we will not be able to fit it into our program this year, but certainly we can do so early next year. Johan, could you?
No, that's correct, Chairperson. We can definitely see how we can fit it in for next year.
Early next year.
Chairperson, yes, as you know, we have got those two pieces of NCOP legislation that will be waiting for us when we come back in the new year. So if it happens so that we do public hearings and one is in George, we can really then combine the two. Then we catch two birds with one stone there.
Okay, good. I think we can do that. We've done so in the past. So the committee, as a resolution, Johan, the committee resolved to do an in loco inspection at the Go George integrated transport system, and we will establish a suitable date and communicate that to the members for diary purposes early next year. Can you record it as such? Johan?
Thanks. Thank you, Chair. I've got it like that.
Okay, great. Colleagues, any other resolutions you'd like to propose? Honourable van der Westhuizen?
Thank you, Chair. I wonder if we shouldn't ask the department just to report on the number of what they call high performance vehicles that must still be rolled out or, made available out in the field. And perhaps if we could just get a brief summary of, when these vehicles were purchased, when the first vehicles were eventually then made available, and the progress in this regard. Perhaps also just for them to state the reasons why the rollout didn't happen as smoothly as one would have loved to see. And then lastly, just whether the warranties or and the so-called motor plans on these vehicles, whether they were affected by the delayed rollout. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other resolution? Okay. So in the absence of any further resolutions, Jan, you've got that second
Thank you, Chair. I've got them sorted.
Okay. Right, in the absence of any further resolutions, allow me to thank you colleagues for your presence and your engagement with the department. It's deeply valued and appreciate it. And thank you, Johan, and Fundu, Candice, and our support staff that ably assist us in getting our things done. So with that, colleagues, we are done. May you have a fruitful day. Johan, do we have minutes?
No, Chairperson. Just before you send us all in our own merry way, just a heads up to the committee, Jay. The Select Committee on Transport at the NCOP is sitting today on the transport economic regulations negotiating mandates. It appears that they want to deal with the final mandates on the 6th of December. So somewhere between today and the 6th of December, if they do send it to us, I will discuss it with you, and we will have to schedule a meeting to do the final mandate. But that's just as a heads up, so members are just aware that this might come at very short notice.
Okay, thank you, Johan. Yeah, that would possibly be some time next week, I suppose, or even on Friday. So the 5th, somewhere next week. Okay, thank you, Johan. So with that, colleagues, thank you so much. Have a lovely day further. And I'm sure many of us will be joining other committees for the same purpose, that's adopting and deliberating on the adjustment budget. May all go well, and see you in the next meeting. Thank you so much. Bye.